Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 128, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And Fakafon, and that was the best take.
Yeah, very
36 takes, and that was the best one.
Yeah, I did not. But yeah, I was getting tongue-tied tonight. I don't know.
It's
what
a
was
holiday
going on.
jitters, you know?
Yeah.
The energy in
Thrusts
the
his
air.
fists against the post and still insists he sees the ghost.
It's the post-holiday jitters. This is Thursday, Fakafon.
I'm still on holiday.
Right. It's actually after the holiday. Whoa.
It's post-Boxing Day.
Do we
It's
have those
pre-New
in Canada?
Year's.
I don't remember.
It's Kickboxing Day now.
Ooh.
Ow.
We gotta watch Van Damme movies.
Don't watch Van Damme movies.
Oh, Van Damme.
Are you kidding me? I'm watching Street Fighter all day, every day.
So speaking of Van Damme, we are going to explore the inanity of superhero
Pop
video
culture.
games.
I'm a superhero. Yeah, it is.
On this lovely new episode of the podcast.
And defeat that son of a bitch, Bison!
The next Bison wannabe is gonna feel it. I'll kick his ass so hard. It's the best.
Do you even know English? But yeah. So anyway, so I recently just started playing the new Spider-Man game, and
Yeah.
I'm borrowing it from a friend and playing it on PS4. They just added this Sam Raimi suit, by the way, which is really cool, really pretty neat that they did that. But I am very much looking forward to continuing on with the game. I've only started playing it but it feels great. And it's also a very challenging game. I've actually found that that the game is quite fun to play.
Nice.
And
Sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt you, but is the Sam Raimi suit a DLC, or it just like comes with the game now?
it's like a free
No, I believe it was
DLC.
DLC.
Free
It's
DLC.
free-
Man, that
it's
is
free
great.
DLC.
That's really awesome, actually. I thought you
Yeah.
actually had to
They've
pay.
been releasing like other suits as time has gone by.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've actually seen a few of those like floating around on Twitter.
Mhm.
Do you ever get to say "You're out, Gobby, out of your mind"?
No, I don't.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
It's a line from the movie.
Gobby?
Man,
Yeah,
I
the
don't
Green
remember.
Goblin.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
remember that, dude.
Are you in or out?
I
You're out,
watched this-
Gobby, out of your mind.
I watched
my God,
this
is that
in,
at the
what,
end of the movie?
2002?
No, that's early in the movie.
Oh my god, I really forget then.
Jeez.
Back to formula.
So we actually have that Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie to thank for all of the subsequent superhero movies since then.
Pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, the X-Men movie helped.
Which was first, the X-Men or Spider-Man 1? Was it X-Men 1 or Spider-Man 1? I forget. Was it
I
X-Men 1?
want to say X-Men because
Okay.
I think I saw that when I was in like summer camp.
Okay. Yeah,
And like
yeah.
Spider-Man, I mean, this is like an awkward thing to bring up, but Spider-Man was obviously after 2001 because the original trailer for the movie featured the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
and
No,
it was
no,
a
you're-
fucking cool trailer, by the way.
You're referring
He,
to
like-
Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 had that taken
Spider-Man
out.
2?
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 had that taken out.
That's what it was? Okay, because it was like the coolest trailer ever, because like you had no idea it was a Spider-Man movie. It was just like a heist. And like, and then they're flying away in their helicopter, like, yay, we robbed the bank or whatever. But then all of a sudden, something jams and they can't move. But they're in a helicopter though, and then it zooms out and they're in a web that was between the World Trade Center, like towers, and it's like, oh shit, it was a Spider-Man trailer the whole time. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing.
I don't think
it was
we
like the
ever-
original. It was like Michael Bay's Transformers trailer. You just see stuff on Mars. And you're like, oh, it's a space movie. And then you see like a robot, like Transformers. You're like, no way for that first Transformers movie.
So hype.
But I'm sorry, Fakafon, what were you saying?
I don't think I ever got to see that trailer though with the Spider-Man one because obvious
Oh,
reasons.
it was pulled real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, look it up on YouTube. It kicks ass.
nice.
No, you're right. That was 2002. So for the original Spider-Man, so it must have been for the original Spider-Man movie.
There you go. Okay. So yeah, so I suspect the Spider-Man movie came out after the X-Men movie because I think I saw X-Men in middle school. In 2001, 2002, I was in high school.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the original X-Men movie is 2000. So we have that movie to think.
It wasn't that much earlier.
Yeah. So, yeah, and there was like a lot of talk about maybe it being like a combined universe, but that obviously didn't happen or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so we're moving on to talking about superhero video games in general. Now, as far as licensing goes, usually licensed games are not the best. You always hear about them. There's some exceptions to the rule that are really good.
Yeah, I mean they're usually just like, we got to make a game to promote the movie, so it's like mediocre
at best.
So with superhero films or superhero video games in particular, I think it runs the whole gamut. Like, there are really bad ones, there are mediocre ones, but there are also some really great ones.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all of them in between, but one character I'm going to call out, just like from the get-go, there has never been a good Superman video game.
Well, that's the thing with Superman games, though, is like, it's hard to make a Superman game that would feel like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, Superman has God mode on all the time, so it's like, are you constantly going to be fighting supervillains and you never stop a guy who's robbing a bank? Because, like, the 64 game actually did try doing that. The controls just were the worst, but it's like, knock over some dude, like, okay, I guess, but it didn't feel like you were doing anything important.
Yeah, and that was based off of the animated series at the time, I believe. And
yeah, that's right.
It's the Bruce Timm look. Yeah.
So I mean, there was a really bad NES game. There was a really bad Atari game.
Spider-Man had an Atari game.
Yeah, but that was actually was pretty good for the time. Have you ever played it or seen it?
I've seen only screenshots. Like, I think I might actually have read some comic books that had, like, an advertisement for it somewhere or something like that.
So
the Atari game, you mean?
The Atari game.
The Atari game, yeah.
Is that the one where you just climb a building, basically?
I think
climbing
so.
a building.
I mean, considering what the Atari was, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you're climbing a building in it, and at the end, when you get towards the top, the Green Goblin is throwing down pumpkin bombs at you.
Yeah.
You have to dodge them. Now that game's actually pretty similar to Crazy Climber.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have ever played or seen that game, but
I've never played
really
the original,
fun
but I played the Lollipop Chainsaw level that played homage to it.
Yeah, so essentially in that game you have two joysticks, and you control the 2 hands and 2 feet of a guy climbing the side of a building. And
that sounds like freaking Quap.
Yeah, and that's why it's difficult. You have to coordinate with, and it's very difficult to figure out like how to move the guy because it's very intricate.
Yeah.
But like you can get in the zone with this game and climb very quickly. But like the challenge comes in trying to dodge things that are trying to knock you down. Like there's a bird that poops on you.
Bird shit.
There are people that drop flower pots on you, things like that.
Yeah, it's like Paperboy. Like, why does everybody want me dead?
Like, yeah. People trying to shut windows on you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in that game. But Spider-Man is kind of like a lo-fi version of that. It's not nearly as hard, but it's very similar in concept.
Although, now that I think about it, I never really thought about this before because I didn't know about the Atari game way back in the day. But in one of the better Spider-Man games is a side-scrolling beat-em-up, Maximum Carnage, which was available on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
There is at least one level, I think maybe 2, where you're climbing a building and you get a web, but like back and forth between the 2 buildings you're climbing, and instead of stuff getting dropped on you, you have to avoid the beams being shot by the villain Shriek. She was one of the bigger figures in the Maximum Carnage 14-issue miniseries.
Oh man, I never got that far in the game. I was way too bad at it.
Oh, no, it's like level 2. Like you beat the first bunch of baddies.
Oh god.
Yeah, like I mean, the first level is walk to the right and beat up bad guys, and the bosses are those 2 women who whip their hair at you, and then like I think level 2 is climbing the building, and it's once you know what to do, it's actually pretty tame. But when you're first playing it, you're probably gonna die like several times because you're like, what is happening?
Then oh my god, either I suck a lot or I just forgot about it.
I'm sure you forgot, but the Genesis and Mega Drive Spider-Man game actually has inspiration from that Atari game as well. There's a section that's quite like that. People dropping flower pots on you and stuff like that.
Well, no, I mean that's what I just said. When you're climbing to avoid Shriek. There's no flower pots.
No. I'm talking about the
other
game
one
that's just called Spider-Man or
Spider-Man the video game.
Yeah.
I never played that one. I don't think.
The Sega CD version is called Spider-Man versus the Kingpin.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's in there as well. The Genesis, the one that's made by Sega rather than the company that made Maximum Carnage.
Spider-Man versus the Kingpin has a grim fucking ending.
Oh yeah,
if you mess it up.
yeah, and
it's surprisingly grim.
Actually, now that I think about it,
it's one of those. What was it?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, because you were gonna ask a question. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, actually, I think even at the first level, you can start climbing walls, and people are still trying to shove you off them.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But no, Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin has one of those levels, like the final boss, that like a couple of Genesis games did back in the day, like Revenge of Shinobi and Comic Zone, where, you gotta beat the bad guy, but your girlfriend is at risk of death, like, while you're fighting. So you can beat the Kingpin and save her, you could beat the Kingpin but be too late to save her, or if you die, like, he just takes both of you and just dunks you into a fucking vat of acid, and it's like, wow!
Jesus. If I remember correctly, the Genesis version of that game too had like a ridiculously hard to hit hitbox on the Kingpin.
Yeah.
Like you had to hit there was like a pixel line of where you had to punch him. It was ridiculous.
Oh, that sucks.
Like it was almost impossible.
Yeah, this was one of the early games for the system that I think it was even before Sonic that was a big game for it when it originally came out.
I remember seeing the screenshots on the back of the box, because I've seen the box before. It's like, fight the Rhino, fight the Green Goblin. I'm like, this is actually awesome, but I never actually played the game.
It's a hard ass game. But I liked it because there was a lot of stuff you could do in it. For the time, it was like pretty revolutionary. Like you could actually like take action shots. Like you could pause the game and take a picture of what was happening on screen, and you would like Peter Parker would, and you would
earn some money.
You would earn money in between levels with that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there was like
for a Genesis game, damn.
Yeah, there was incentive for it because you need to buy. You have limited web fluid in that game, just like in the comics. So it's pretty cool that it allows you to do that. But the game is also very hard, especially. I'm sure I would be better at it now. But as a young kid, when I got my Genesis, I was only like 6 or 7 when we got it.
Yeah. Well, there are some games that are still rough. Do you guys remember X-Men, like Arcade's Revenge?
Oh yeah, that game is hard as shit.
I don't think I didn't beat. I really don't think I beat any level in
Spider-Man's
that game.
in that as well.
Yeah, that's right.
I think you might be right, but like that game is stupidly difficult.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I was able to beat any character's level. Maybe I beat level 1 of one character or something, but like that game is fucking impossible.
I could beat Storm's first level. I could beat Spider-Man's first level.
Do you remember Gambit, where you're just
Gambit's
running away
as
from
hard
the
as
Doom
shit.
Ball? Yeah, just run away from that one level in Aladdin where you're avoiding the lava when you're escaping on the carpet. Like that's Gambit's entire level.
Yeah,
it's like, oh no.
Cyclops is really hard as well. I think I could beat Wolverine's. Wolverine was like the most straightforward one.
It was the
like
toys, right? For
what is
Wolverine's? It? Like his level was the toys, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez, I forgot that.
Yeah. Storm's was like, she's apparently claustrophobic and like afraid of swimming, so like she's caught like swimming through like a passage.
Oh, I didn't know she was
stuff.
afraid of swimming, but yeah, she's absolutely claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because like she like I don't know if this is part of it, but she grew up like in the savannah in Africa, where like everything is open everywhere.
Well, there's some backstory behind that. I think she was like, like she was kidnapped and put in like a solitary confinement kind of situation.
That's what it was?
Yeah. So I think that's where her fears come from.
She was kidnapped? Because I knew she was like a thief as a kid.
When she was a kid, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot. These backstories of these characters are vast, but anyway, I mean, that was an okay game. It's not terrible, but it's way too fucking hard.
The game is competent at what it does, but you will not beat it.
Yeah, no, I remember always renting it and seeing whether I could get further, and it's like, nope.
I think I rented it like once or something, because I only played it very briefly.
There is a couple decent Superman games. I have to. I just search my brain here. There is a beat 'em up for the arcade where the second player is Captain Marvel or Shazam.
Oh
what
wow! So it's
know.
Basically Superman and Superman.
Yes, exactly. That's why I think it works.
Yeah.
And there's also the Death and Return of Superman, which is okay. It's a beat 'em up for the Super Nintendo and Genesis.
I've heard of it, but I didn't know like what it was.
It's like Final Fight, but like it's way more boring than Final Fight. You know, that kind of thing. There's a ton of levels, and it's hard as shit. So yeah.
Speaking of a ton of levels and hard as shit, I mean, a lot of people say Maximum Carnage is hard, and it is. Like, there is a right way to play the game. Like, I was able to beat it consistently after a time, but like, have you ever tried? I'm not even sure if it was on Sega Genesis. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember seeing it on Super Nintendo.
It's on both.
Have you ever?
Yeah.
What? It is on both. Is Spider-Man and Venom Separation Anxiety?
Yeah, the sequel.
That game is stupid hard. Like, damn, that game is rough. Although it actually has checkpoints with, I think, a password system.
I think it's easier with 2 players too.
I'm sure. That game is stupid hard. I played it on an emulator when I was in college, and I still thought it was hard when I was using save states. And when you beat it, you unlock hard mode. I'm like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. Perry and I played that while we were in Red Bank, and we had a pretty good time with it. Yeah, I mean, that's what that game has over Maximum Carnage. Maximum Carnage is a 1-player game.
Yeah, that was kind of baffling. I mean, they let you play with it where every few levels it'll go like, whose story do you want to follow, Spider-Man or Venom? So you could choose, but like, yeah, no 2-player. Although to be fair, in Maximum Carnage, it was very rare that Spider-Man and Venom were fighting bad guys at the same time.
I mean, Separation Anxiety like doesn't have anything to do with the comic book series at all either. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, Maximum Carnage was really faithful to the comics.
Yeah.
Like, it was dead on. Like, it was surprisingly good. I mean, obviously, they added a bunch of goons for you to beat up, but, like, they really got it right. The plot elements and the, quote, cutscenes between levels were literally comic panels. Like, they went out of their way to make that as accurate as they could for a beat-em-up game. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but that company also made the Tick beat-em-up game as well, which is also very difficult. But I used to like it. I
even knew there was a Tick beat-em-up game.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I think it was for the Genesis only.
Wow.
Yeah. I played that back in the day as well. It was decent, but not. It's not on the level of the Capcom beat-em-ups, of course.
Few things are.
Yeah. And there's one other Superman game of note that I think is good. The Justice League Heroes game, which is like kind of like the Marvel the Marvel RPG games. What are those called? The Ultimate Alliance games.
So, yeah. Alliance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I messed up Ultimate Alliance. Yeah.
Ultimate Alliance. So, and those are great. All of those games are pretty great. Like, you know, fun entries to play with your friends, if you ask me.
Definitely.
The X-Men Legends games were the first in those, I think.
Yeah, I played the first one of those. It was pretty cool for the time.
It actually gets better with each iteration, so that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I never played the second one, like Age of Apocalypse or whatever it was called. But it looked interesting.
Yeah, it went all the. They're making a third Ultimate Alliance game too, so that should have a lot of characters in it, which will be great. I know the PC versions of Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 have a lot of fan mods out there that will add like the console exclusive characters and things like that.
That's cool.
So it has a pretty robust fan community, so I would seek that out and get the PC versions of those, not the console versions, if you're gonna do it.
By the way, regarding beat 'em ups, I mean, I love talking about Spider-Man forever, but like, how about those Batman beat 'em ups? Like, Batman, I was gonna say. Well, Batman Forever was kind of like, but Batman Returns, you're just like throwing dudes into walls in the background.
The Konami one, right?
Yeah. You were like the Dark Knight Returns Batman. You were just like a brute in that game, just beating the shit out of people.
It was fun though.
Batman
the sprites were huge.
Has a lot of like mediocre games, but there's a few really great standouts, and some even fantastic games. So
the NES Sunsoft Batman game is Ninja Gaiden Batman, but it's brilliant. The final boss is some bullshit, but like, that game's really good.
Yeah, and then there's Return of the Joker. The sequel to that is quite good as well. I like that game, and it's also one of the powerhouse like graphical showcases of the system. Really, really cool. I also really love the cover art. You should look at like the distorted look of like Joker's mouth in it is like really neat looking.
Nice.
But I really love Batman as a character. There are a lot of other Batman games, even that Sunsoft made. So there's like the Genesis Batman game, which isn't as good. Yeah. There's the PC Engine Batman game, which has the same music as the NES game, but it sounds even better.
I love stuff like that.
But the game is completely different. It's more like a maze game, kind of like like Bomberman or like Pac-Man. Like
really?
Wow.
It's like top down, and you have to save paintings from the museum.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
and there's also, I mean, obviously there's the Arkham trilogy, which
great.
I think people know about those. I still have to play Arkham Knight.
There's 4 of them technically. There's Origins.
Well, that's true. The one that was not made by Rocksteady.
But that's
Arkham
a good
Origins.
game too. That game shouldn't be discounted.
I have heard that was good. I need to look into that.
Yeah.
I still need to play Arkham Knight. But I've played City and Asylum and City, and those were
Me too.
Unbelievable. I mean, if I had to complain about anything, it would be that there's literally never a reason to turn off Detective Vision.
Yeah.
But otherwise, those games are fantastic.
In the later games, in the second and third one, there's actually too much to do. If you ask me, like there's no way you can 100%
in the second
those
game,
games.
I did get every Riddler trophy, but it just felt like tedium by the end.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean.
The third one's even worse, if you can believe
I've heard.
it. Yeah. But I didn't get a chance to play the third one yet, but I was having fun playing it. Like I played a little bit of it, like about an hour of it, and because it came with my PS4 when I bought it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I liked it quite a bit, but I got lost in Bloodborne after that. And then I got distracted and didn't play either of them. But yeah, I mean, those games are great, but there's also some stinker Batman games out there as well. I mean, there's the animated series one for Genesis is quite good. There's also the Super Nintendo one, which is a completely different game. It's Adventures of Batman and Robin. Both of them are called that, but they're completely different games. Both of those are good, but they're completely different.
I can't believe I'm doing this twice, but it's like Disney's Aladdin.
Yeah.
Like, there's one on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, but
they're like totally
I
different.
like the Genesis one better. It's more like Gunstar Heroes or like a Contra game.
And it's also
Contra
it was animated by like the Disney animators.
Really cool.
And
the animation's so smooth.
And there's also a little Easter egg. Like if you go under like an umbrella, there's like a little Mickey Mouse hat, and if you stand under it, it gives you a 1-up. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Oh well,
great.
you mean in Aladdin?
Yeah, in Aladdin.
Yeah. In the desert level. Yeah.
But there was kind of an only okay Sega CD Batman game. There's a couple of them. There's like there's a version of Batman Returns on there, and also the Adventures of Batman and Robin, and they're like vehicular combat games.
By far the best Batman game ever made is the arcade game released on arcade and Sega Saturn. I think it also on PS1, surprisingly.
Was it
I never played those.
Batman Forever, the arcade game, right?
That is the best game ever made.
Oh,
my fucking god.
Oh, we should do an LP of that eventually.
Wait, is that the one that was like Mortal Kombat style?
No.
Okay.
I think you might be thinking the Genesis one.
No. It does have digitized graphics. Maybe that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, but not Mortal Kombat style digitized graphics. The Saturn one is fucking bananas. Like it's the best. So it makes no sense.
It is. There's all kinds of shit happening on the screen all the time, and you have no idea what's going on.
It's great.
And for some reason, Robin, Chris O'Donnell Robin, can release like a spirit bomb, like a la Goku. Like, it's fucking bananas. There's trash blowing around all over the place on the screen constantly for no reason. It's just a bananas crazy ass game.
The game makes no goddamn sense. It's the best.
Yeah,
it's the best. Like that is something I should stream at some point.
Yeah, we should play that.
Fucking hysterical.
Man, speaking of that movie, what was the movie after that? The one where there was also Batgirl.
Batman and Robin.
That's the one? Because I remember there was a PlayStation 1 game that was based on that movie.
Yeah.
It
Awful.
was. We actually rented that game, or one of our friends had it, or whatever. we never got to the first level because we had no idea how to get to the first level. We were just...
Oh, no.
It's that kind of game
you couldn't
where...
get out of the Batcave, right?
Well,
Don't you have to get out of the Batcave?
You have to get out of the Batcave and drive around the city
Yeah.
and actually go to the scene of the crime, like as it happens or before it happens or whatever. And we had no idea. You need to go there at a certain time, and if you miss your time window, it's like, well, fuck you. You don't get to play that level.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
The game is garbage. Ugh.
We had no idea how to do this. You're supposed to decipher some clues, but we didn't give a shit. You know, we were like, what, 6 or something?
Yeah, it's too early for that shit.
Man.
Yeah, you just want to play a Batman game, like, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's like the PS2 era games, which are pretty bad by today's standards. Like, people kind of liked them when they were originally coming out, but by today's standards, they're not good.
Well, you know what that makes me think of is the N64 and PS1 Spider-Man game. I actually liked that quite a bit back in the day.
Back then.
Well, you know, yeah.
If I were to play it now, I don't know, man.
Yeah, nowadays it's not as great.
It had a cool red cartridge though for the 64.
Just do yourself a favor. If you're gonna play a Spider-Man game, just play the newest one, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, actually, speaking of which, I was gonna get to that because the Spider-Man movie game, just Spider-Man for the GameCube, was a pretty solid game for the time. Again, I don't know if I'd go back to it, but probably the weirdest thing about that game is that you didn't have to find anything to web to. Like, you just magically web swing
to the sky.
On the sky.
Yeah.
It's fine. Spider-Man 2, though, was the gold standard for a long time. Like, even through the PS3 era, people said that Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube and PS2
people were saying it right before this one came out.
Yeah. No, seriously. Like, the big compliment about Spider-Man on the PS4 is that it's Spider-Man 2, like, on the PS4 with more stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Spider-Man 2 was everything a Spider-Man game should have been. It was a very accurate rendition of New York City. You web-slinged, like, 2 things. Like, you had to find objects to swing across. It controlled almost like Attack on Titan PS4. Like, you can't just use your aerial mobile gear. Like, you had to like hook up to a house or a tree or something and swing off of that. Spider-Man worked like that. The combat was solid. Again, there's more to the combat in Spider-Man on PS4, but like, people loved Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube. Spider-Man 3 on the PS3 and 360, it wasn't a bad game, but 2, I think, was tighter. Although I saw a little bit of Spider-Man 3 on the Wii, but like the Wii version was a fucking shitty port where like the buildings looked like just single colors. It was like a horrible graphical downgrade.
Great.
That's not really that's not really a knock against Spider-Man 3. Just like the shitty Wii port because we didn't have a PS3 or a 360 at the time.
So I would say if you wanted to play a Spider-Man game of this ilk, you would play that one. But there are other types of Spider-Man games that are still worth playing. There is the ones for the DS that are basically Metroidvanias. There's like the Shattered Dimensions games.
I heard that was a good one actually.
Yeah, it was quite good. And there were quite a few games made by that company that were in Metroidvania style that were quite fun. Like, there was a Green Lantern game made by them. Way Forward made a Thor game based off of the movie. That was quite good.
I remember seeing like a Captain America and a Thor game. They were like the movie licensed ones.
So there is a pretty decent Captain America game that it was for Xbox 360 and PS3 at the time. I don't know if you know this or not, but it was actually a pretty good game. It played like Gears of War, like it had a cover system.
Oh, that actually makes sense considering the movie.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that during this time, and actually during that time period was pretty much when a lot of really good superhero games were coming out. Like there was a really good Wolverine game as well around that time period. That actually had him have his healing factor the way it should. So that was a really fun game.
Was that the particularly violent like Rated M one?
Yes, yeah, it was.
Like
that was a very good
would cut
game.
people up, like because in the movies they never really did that. Like he would kill people, but he would never like slash people and there's blood everywhere. Like, but the game did that.
Yeah, I think that game was made by Grin, which was a really good company. They made They made quite a few really fun games. Like, they made a Wanted game that was really fun that had, like, the bullet like
Yeah, the
steering
curving.
mechanic,
Oh,
like
okay.
or curving mechanic. Yeah.
I don't know why I was
Um,
thinking of like a car game like Wanted. I think I was thinking of Most Wanted.
Oh, like in Need for Speed,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see here. No,
Well, there are also a couple of pretty solid Hulk games too, where you just jump around and break shit.
Yeah,
yeah.
apparently
So
those games were
Maximum
really
Destruction.
fun to play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you could do that thing like in the movie where you punch into cars and now they're car gauntlets for your fists. It's like, oh god.
Nice.
Yeah, there was some good stuff. This was a good era. I mean, like that's when they finally started to like combine like the GTA concept with like
Yeah.
with other genres and things like that. So
By the way, speaking of Captain America, one thing that we actually overlooked was Captain America and the Avengers, the Data East beat 'em up, which was
oh yeah.
like again, I don't know if you'd really like, oh, I gotta play that game again, but at the time it was quite cool.
Wait, remind me.
And it was an arcade title as well.
Remind me what system was it on?
It was arcade and Genesis.
Okay, I don't think I played that one.
It was kind of funny because I remember you could play as the Vision and like you could pick. It was like Streets of Rage. You could pick up enemies and throw them.
Okay.
But the Vision would just fucking manhandle a guy. He would just like lift them up in the air with one hand and just walk around with them before throwing him. It's like, oh god.
Oh, okay. I gotta correct myself. So this was X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, that's the one.
And it was made by not by Grin but Raven Software, which
Okay.
ended up making the Wolfenstein reboot before the other Wolfenstein reboot.
Oh yeah, the 2009 game that was just called Wolfenstein.
Yeah, and basically was that had like that's been basically written out of history, that game, unfortunately. But
yeah, that game actually looked pretty good.
and it's
too.
good. It is good. It's just that Bethesda decided to take it in a different direction, so it still doesn't have like you can't buy it for PC or anything like or on any streaming
Yeah, I heard about that. Like, if you
services.
want to, like, the only way to play it on PC now is physical, and apparently those titles are quite expensive.
Yeah, I mean, just get the 360 one. It's pretty common.
That's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
go find the console version on the shelf and like, call it a day.
But yeah, this Wolverine game is known for being better than the movie itself.
yeah. The thing is, if you go back and watch the movie, it's really not that bad.
It
Some of the
sucks.
special effects are ridiculous,
I
but like
hate
I
it.
thought the movie was okay,
Yeah.
except for obviously the one scene everyone remembers with the shitty Deadpool. That was a fucking travesty. But like the movie's all right.
No, it's pretty bad, honestly. Like
I don't know what you're talking about. It sucks.
I'm trying to think of like anything decent in that movie, and honestly, it's pretty much a boring mess the whole way through.
It just sucks.
That's my
Again, the special
opinion anyway.
effects are like what, but like,
Well, at least you had fun more than us when we went to see it.
I saw it for free, when it famously leaked, and
yeah. The fun way of watching that movie is before the effects were
leak.
inserted, so it's like claws, like stand here, like on the scene. It's ridiculous.
What? There's
I-
what?
Yep.
Yeah, there's actually a pre-finished version of the movie that leaked.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it got famously leaked.
This is back when we were in college.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
and everybody watched it, and it was a bad movie. It was a mediocre movie to begin with at best, and it did very poorly in theaters, and they made
Yeah.
a sequel to it for some
Yay!
reason.
Well,
But,
speaking of superhero games, one of the things I love the most, and I think everyone will agree, is when you get like either like multiple characters or character creation.
oh
No,
yeah,
I hate that.
So that's why the Alliance games were so fun, because you get to choose like between like 50 superheroes. But
Yeah, well, that was cool.
but things that were
Actually,
really cool.
speaking of which, even the Lego games do stuff like that.
Yes,
like,
that's
I mean,
true.
it doesn't really count to say Lego Marvel superheroes, Lego Avengers, like Lego Batman. Like they're really just Lego games with those skins.
Well, still,
but they
you
do
know.
a very good job with them.
But some of the games I really liked growing up was like games that were MMOs, like City of Heroes or Champions Online.
Oh,
or...
sure.
There was also
That's not my thing, but I totally get it.
it was just really fun to create a hero. And one of the games I remember playing a lot, and like I have a very mixed feelings about this game, is Freedom Force. I don't know if you heard about that.
oh yeah,
Like Freedom Force 1 and 2. With the
sure.
The second one being like much better balance, because the first game was it was fun, but it was a mess because you could create your own superhero, but it's mostly like for the story of like the main characters. Like you had guys like Minutemen or like stuff like that. And the big problem of the game was like every hero was incredibly imbalanced. Like you had shitty heroes, excellent heroes, and like they would just be like side by side. So you had this guy who would die in 2 shots, and then you had the guy right next to him who would just never die. So he would always be the only one standing, finishing the mission. And then you have like bodies piling up behind you of your comrades. It was ridiculous.
Jeez.
Like I remember one mission in particular. It's like an arena mission. You're just getting attacked and you need to survive. And you have 3 heroes. One of them had no HP, so he would just die. One of them had to go melee all the time, so she would go in and everyone would target her and she'd die. So like the only guy left was the guy who was like a pseudo Iron Man. And those enemies, if you were far from that, they'd start shooting at you instead of like meleeing. And since the guy had a metal armor, every like 95% of the time the shots would reflect, so that guy was like basically invincible.
Jeez.
But like it was like that the whole game. There was always that one guy who could do the mission and all the other who would just die.
Wow.
It got better in the second game.
Yeah, I heard those games are very beloved by the people who played them. I unfortunately missed them, but I know about them.
They are fun, but like I said, like you gotta like as soon as you understand that there's one guy who can complete the mission and then there's everyone else, you're just like, okay, I need to like I need to plan my mission around keeping that guy alive and making him do all the big stuff.
Oh, and I wanted to mention this obscure game because I think it's a cool one to talk about. Have you guys ever heard of the Superhero League of Hoboken?
Hell yeah, I played that back in middle school.
Sorry, I haven't.
I actually found a copy of Classic Game Junkie with you years ago.
Yeah, so it's a DOS game from 1994.
Yeah, that game is the shit.
Yeah, so it's post-apocalyptic and taking place in New Jersey, the home of Lotus and I, and before Hoboken was a swanky neighborhood where you could not get an apartment there if you tried, even on like a really good salary. Right now, it is like the hipster. It's not even a hipster place to live. It's like completely gentrified neighborhood. But it used to be a shit town. And
yeah, like it was the butt of jokes like in New Jersey and the tri-state area.
Well, New York would make fun of it all the time, and when New Yorkers, like people that live in Manhattan and like Brooklyn and Queens, whenever they think of New Jersey, they think of like Newark and Hoboken and Jersey City, which are all like up and coming. Hoboken's already there. Hoboken, like if you wanted to get an apartment there, it would cost you like $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Jesus.
Like, easily. And that's an apartment. Good luck buying like a condo or something like that.
Yeah,
it would be ridiculous. It would be $500,000. But yeah, so you were supposed to laugh at the very notion of superheroes being in Hoboken.
Yeah, Superhero League of Hoboken. Like, yeah, that like the name was a joke. You know.
But it apparently was post-apocalyptic too. Can you talk a little bit about it, Lotus?
Oh, sure, yeah. Like, everything had gone to hell. There were some areas where I never made it this far, but there were some areas that were just like irradiated, and you would need like a guy with a special power to even be able to navigate those areas. The thing is, the game was a point and click, but like when you leave your base, there's like this big map screen where you can have your characters go to certain places, and there would be enemies in the places, and you would have like an enemy meter that shows you the level of enemy activity. So there are limited numbers of enemies in the game, because as you win battles, the counter goes lower and lower until there's nothing.
Okay.
So you actually can clear areas. But if you go to like key areas, then you enter a town or something and it becomes a point and click where you got to know who to talk to and have the right hero in your party with the right power and talk to someone to like advance the mission. And the main villain of the game is Dr. Entropy, who looks like a Jack-in-the-Box clown guy, and he just makes annoying things happen. And the kinds of enemies you fight are just like weird. There's like one of my favorites, just because of the name, is like it's like a beggar on the street, or not even necessarily a beggar, just like a drunk on the street who messes with you, but they have really white skin and they're called an albino wino, and they'll just like attack you. Like the game has goofy shit like that as enemies. I forgot what a bunch of the other stuff was. I haven't played this game in a long time, but like it's goofy shit like this. And you like, you never actually use your power, unless maybe at the end of the game as a joke or something, but most other characters have practical powers that are useful in battle, but also sometimes for context-sensitive point-and-click, like, solve the mystery situations. There's, like, Tropical Oil Man, who greatly increases enemies' cholesterol and fucking hurts them in battle. It's rough.
What the hell?
Like, he wrecks shit. Like, he becomes the guy you never remove from your party. You are the Crimson Tape. So if you ever use your power, nothing actually happens, but the game gives you a text box saying, like, oh, you write all sorts of charts and graphs and confuse everyone and nobody cares. Like, it's kind of funny. Yeah, like, this game is fucking brilliant, man. By the way, speaking of battles, I said this game is a point and click, but, like, yeah, when you get into a fight, you're on a battle screen. So, like, you click attack. What will you do? Fist or power? So, like, it becomes like an old school RPG, like, attack screen, which is kind of rad.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I never did beat the game because it was, like, my friend's copy. But, like, when you beat an area, you would solve whatever problem Dr. Entropy caused. And he'd be like, no, curse you. And he would go to the next area and you'd advance the game. I loved the game back in the day. And because it's a point and click, it's not like, oh, you have to get used to the controls. I'm sure if I were to play the game today, it would be exactly like I remember it. It's not like, oh, I can't play this now. Like, it's one of those games that ages just fine because it does what it's supposed to.
Gotcha.
So it's not like GoldenEye where, like, the N64 controller, you're like, oh, we have better. Like, this is old school battle screens. Like, if you don't like that whole method of gameplay, that's one thing, but it's easy enough to handle.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Fakafon, do you have any games that you wanted to mention before we move on to the other segment as well?
Sure, I have one last one, and it's a very popular one. It's obviously Superman 64, because
the best game.
We used to own that game, and we did try to play it. Like, the only time I've ever seen this game beaten legitimately was obviously on YouTube. I saw, like, a guy called Mike Matei. I don't know. He's like the
sure.
video games nerd's friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he had a whole thing on YouTube for a while where he would beat, like, fucking impossible games, but just hacking away at them forever.
And
yeah,
that's
like
one of them,
Dragon's Lair for NES.
Jesus.
Yeah, and he did Haunted Castle on arcade.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so Superman 64 was one of them, and seeing him play through the game made me realize, wow, okay, it wasn't just me. The game was horrible.
The game is bullshit. Oh, did you see the ending where the camera just keeps zooming in and out and it kind of is nauseating?
And it also just like, well, you win, but, you know, Lex Luthor's still alive, so whatever. See ya.
Yeah, well, whatever. I don't know, man. It's fine. It was a game over.
But like everybody else,
you should watch the GDQ run of that game, the Games Done Quick run.
Oh my god,
that game is broken as shit. You should see what they do. It's amazing,
dude. I have to see it now. I have to.
And what's cool is that, you know how there's the player, but then there are people on the couch who co-commentate?
Yeah.
In this case, the player didn't really say anything. It was one of those games where the couch does all the commentary work. But it was fun to see because some of the commentators, like, themselves, had an idea of what to expect, but not completely. Like, Spike Vegeta, the commentator, knew exactly what was going on, but, like, another commentator was like, Jesus, I remember that boss being so hard, and you just completely skipped him, and, like, stuff like that. So it's really cool to see from the different perspectives.
Yeah, so that game, I never got past level 2 because it was just so hard. It's kind of like, I don't know.
You're already better than some other people. Most people never made it past level 1.
Very strict time limit, doesn't it?
Oh, that was the pick up the car thing, right? Yeah, were you like 10 seconds into
No.
level?
I mean literally level 2, not like the first section. Like, there's 14 levels in this game. Like, the first level is pick up the car, like, take out the tornadoes, save the cop.
Yeah.
And level 2 is when you're in...
So you're already ahead of other players by getting past that.
Well, you know, it's a lot of headbutting in this game.
Yep.
But yeah, it's kind of like, it reminds me of also, like, Pepsi Man on PS1. Like, level 1, like, you get through it, and then you get to level 2, and it becomes impossible.
Yeah, but that game isn't broken as shit. It's just really hard.
Yeah, but, like, Superman 64, you get to the second level, and it's just, everything hurts a lot, and when you punch something, it explodes and hurts you, and that's every enemy in the level. All of them.
It's so dumb.
You don't have laser vision because you have to pick it up, and even then it doesn't hurt them. So what you had to do, what we figured out like centuries, it took us a long while, but you have to pick them up from under them and then throw them very far away from you. Which means
get the hell out of here.
You couldn't pick them up if they were near a wall because they'd explode. You
because you'd bump.
You couldn't pick them up if they were next to another enemy because they explode, and you couldn't throw them next to you because they explode. So you had to get very far away, throw the enemies, and then they explode at a safe distance. That was the whole level.
It's a good game.
Sorry, that was my spiel. I had to get that out of my system.
What a great game.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit, man. So anyway, I think we should move on to our other segments so we have enough time here.
Sure.
But
Yes.
yeah, that was a good swath of superhero games, good and bad, from the beginning of video game history to now. I think it's pretty cool that there's such a wide variety of it. Like, it's not like movie game. Some of them are movie games, but like most movie games are just straight up terrible in general. But the ones that are superhero oriented tend to have a fighting chance of being good. So I like talking about this. So anyway, I would typically go into Vize's weigh-in, but I actually just came home from New York and haven't had a chance to weigh myself. So
that's okay. You look great.
Thank you. He is seeing me from the shoulders up, so you have no idea how my body looks. But I could be holding quite a bit down there. But no, I have been doing well. I've actually been eating a lot better than I ever have been this year. So I've been feeling good, especially even with the holidays. I've been good. And in recent episodes, I've been losing weight. So I'm hopeful that it's either staying stationary or going down again. And once we're past Christmas here, the Christmas area, I hope to be, even more on the ball with this.
Okay.
So, making some progress towards the bikini season. So, on that note, Lotus, why don't you help us out here with some fan reactions and such?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we got a couple of, more than a couple of fan responses. So, Dracologist said that the Witcher games have continuity side quests. Yeah, I actually forgot about that. There are some, I don't remember if it was side quests, but there's definitely continuity between games, and I haven't played The Witcher 3, so my personal verdict is out on that one, but I guess, yeah, if they have continuity side quests, that's rad. As for, this is Dracologist speaking, as for my experience, I would say the part where you have to chase around a paparazzo who took a shot of the demon goddess in Shadow Warrior 2 was amusing, story-wise. Gameplay, it's the usual, but story-wise amusing. Most non-area related side missions in Saints Row games are very dumb and amusing. Otherwise, in the first Diablo game's Mushroom Quest was an odd one, with everyone who you ask about the quest just go, sure? Who would be fun or not to work for? Luca Blight. I mentioned Luca Blight before in Suikoden 2. Luca Blight is like Kefka, just someone who's allowed to run amok without supervision. Work for Skeletor, because fucking Skeletor. and Megatron for
He-Man!
I have to save the children. And Mega Man for pretty much similar reasons. Do not work for Abaddon, the despoiler of the Black Legion of Warhammer 40k, because he is all too eager to feed failures to his pet demons, or reserve spots in the Basilica of Torment. Yeah, there's too many bosses like that who's like, you failed me for the last time, and just kills you. It's like, alright. Also, Killbane from Saints Row the Third, because yikes. I'll take your word on that. I don't know Saints Row.
Yeah, I don't know much either.
They're fun games.
Oh, no doubt. Alright, so Living Corpse says, I guess being a mook for Lilith and Lucas from the Monster Girl Encyclopedia wouldn't be so bad. Lilith is a succubus, and Lucas was a human hero blessed by the gods before Lilith turned him into an incubus. They were sick and tired of the divine design the chief god made that forced monsters and humans to fight, so they teamed up to take down the Lehman Lord. So, you got all that stuff going on. So, their plan is to make the whole, make love, not war, pretty literal, because they're succubus and incubus. Good intentions, noble goal. The problem is their method. They want to unite the monster collective and humans into one species, with the humans being the men and the monsters being the women, so they're going to turn all women into monsters and all men into incubi. Even worse, no males have been born. All children born so far are female, so the world could die with, a moan during a banging. Hey, puns! Even worse, Lilith and Lucas's more fanatical followers, like their fourth daughter, forcibly change people into monsters without their consent, so that sounds like a freaking disaster. And there's a lot more lore to be had there. I guess because there's a whole lot more of the lore there, but I'm not going to go into all of that. But basically, it sounds like they had a good idea, but it's a freaking mess. General Ledger says, my favorite side quests are the ones that help with world building or bring closure to NPC stories. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh, yeah. And again, Yakuza has that stuff too.
Yeah.
Yakuza 4 has a side mission, I think it's a side mission, where you're really mad because this one guy's homeless and his son is, like, pissed at you for making his father homeless, and you're like, or maybe the son himself was homeless as a result, and you're like, who the hell are you? And it turns out he's the son of, like, the guy in the tutorial fight of Yakuza 1 who worked in an insurance company and didn't pay, so you just beat him up. It's like, wow!
Oh, goodness.
So anyway, bringing world building or bringing closure to NPC stories, particularly if they're referenced throughout the game. Some of my favorites are the reforestation quest in Chrono Trigger, rebuilding the community center in Stardew Valley, uncovering the full history of Grand Wizard Arana in Quest for Glory. As for working under villains, I'd probably go with Shinra or Doctor Doom. So long as I'm low enough in rank, that's true, you go under the radar. It wouldn't be any different from any other government job. That's pretty true.
God damn.
I can still do some localized good and be largely ignored from the wrath of both hero and villain.
Unless you are one of those contractors on the second Death Star. Yeah. Come on.
No, man. They had it coming. They knew what was going on. All right, so and then General Ledger also says the most memorable tough bosses for me, this is one from a previous podcast, are the ones where I misinterpret their traits. For instance, in Link to the Past, I never used the bow against the Armor Knights. They had full body shields, so I thought that meant immunity to arrows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what he means.
Yeah, because it seems like, well, you use the dungeon item against the boss, but, like, yeah, if they just have shields, though.
Yeah,
that is
also,
and it turns out you could just hit them.
Also, in the original Zelda, like, that was the way to fight them, so you kind of had to, like, it was one of those, like, carryovers from, like...
Yeah, but no, that is kind of funny, though. I never thought about that.
Me neither.
Yeah.
It's like if you see a red enemy, like, it's like Gwyn from Dark Souls. The one thing you wouldn't use is fire, right? He uses a fire sword, but, like, that's his weakness.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean,
I was a pyromancer. I kicked his ass.
Well, that's the thing. You could still beat him without the fire, but like you might not have.
I
this
went in
unless
there
you go into
and
the
I
lore.
threw 2 fire orbs on him, and he was down to half health after that.
Oh yeah, dude!
Wow.
Oh yeah. So he says with the Armor Knights, it wasn't until I replayed it years later that I realized that the bow two-shots them. Yep. Rather than a drawn-out battle of poke and dodge with sword. Because, yeah, that's what it takes otherwise. I remember if you ran out of arrows, it's a pain in the ass. On a more general note, any boss that requires exploiting a rhythm or musical cue to defeat it is devastating to me. I'm too tone-deaf to succeed. Yeah, I can see that.
You're really good at it, Lotus. You're really good at rhythm-based stuff.
I can be. I'm actually afraid of Dark Souls 3. There's one particular boss who's, I forgot what she's called, some kind of dancer, and she actually moves in, like, I think 6/8 rhythm, and, like, there's an actual dance pattern to her. It's like, oh boy, a Dark Souls rhythm boss, like, ooh.
You were really good at ba 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 ba.
I mean, that's the best. I
love that. I love that. That's a Rhythm Heaven reference, by the way.
Rhythm Heaven's the fucking best. So, alright, so those are the fan responses. The fan question. Baka-sensei asks, if you had the way to change whatever video game movie that has actually been released, which one would you choose and what changes would you make? So a video game movie.
You wouldn't change any of the Resident Evils, would you?
Yeah, no, those are perfect the way they are. It's fine.
Yeah, obviously.
But yeah, like Resident Evil, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, like those kinds of movies. We're not talking about movies that have games. We're talking about movies that came from games.
Well, this would imply that you were very disappointed with them, in one way or another.
Well, the thing with Resident Evil is that, like, if you want to star Alice, like, the first Resident Evil movie...
Not bad.
Like, did its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's an okay movie, but, like, it did its own thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
It had zombies. It had a liquor. I don't know who Alice is. She's a new character. Fine. We're doing this. But, like, the later movies brought in Chris and Jill... Or, I don't know.
Wesker.
No, they did bring Jill. They brought in Chris, Jill, Claire.
Wesker's the bad guy.
Them so hard. Like, it's like, why do you even have them at that point? You know? Like, make the movie about them, or just don't even bother. Maybe have them cameo, like, hello, but don't have them try to help do something, and then they can't announce it's like, I got it. Like, every single time, it really diminishes their characters.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I would probably, at this point, I would probably say that Silent Hill 2, should have been changed to be a lot better.
Yeah, the first Silent Hill movie,
not bad.
They shouldn't have pussyfoot. Well, I know, but the first Silent Hill movie, they really shouldn't have pussyfooted around the Resurrect the God thing. They were like, oh, it's a witch burning cult, whatever. But like that was about it, though. Otherwise, that movie
I liked it a
really
lot.
held up.
I liked it a lot, actually.
No, I did. I liked that movie a lot. But like that plot element, they didn't need to dodge around that.
Okay,
like how in the Doom movie, they weren't hell beasts. It's like that, but that's what.
No.
So, but Silent Hill 2 though was just badly written. Like there were like plot problems in the movie, even if you hadn't played the games and didn't know anything. Like as a standalone, the movie was a mess.
Oh, okay. I never saw that one actually.
It's not. I mean, the visuals are just as good as ever. They're freaking gorgeous, but like the actual like what happens is just dumb.
Okay.
Like I really wasn't a fan. That's the first Silent Hill movie. It's like, oh, that's not that plot element isn't like the game, but that's really my only complaint. Like as a movie, it was a damn good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Silent Hill Revelation, man, it just wasn't good.
Revelations.
No, that's Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
Remember that.
How about you, Fakafon? If you had to change a video game movie, what?
I'm thinking about Advent Children, and
oh, really?
Oh, wow! I forgot about that.
One of the things is Final Fantasy is a game where there's a lot of characters traveling together, right? And Advent Children focuses a lot on Cloud, which at some point you're like, can I see all the other characters I've grown to like and love throughout the game?
Well, yeah, they did that. Like Red 13 shows up for a second. Yuffie's there for a little bit. It's like it's not.
Vincent's not there for very long either.
Vincent's there to be like, Cloud, snap out of it, and then he's
me?
gone.
Like, yeah.
And Kate Sith just says like, hey, I'm there, bye!
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, all right.
The movie itself, I know a lot of people don't like it, and for obvious reasons, it's okay. I just don't get why, like, they had to introduce those three guys. Anyway, the movie's okay,
fake
but
Sephiroths.
like prototype Sephiroths. But the real, like, the fights were fun. Like, they're well animated. They're fun to watch.
They were.
The Turks were fun. They were enjoyable. But yeah, what I really wanted to see was more of the cast, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. How about Final Fantasy Spirits?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
No comment.
Like that. I saw that movie in theaters.
So did I.
Or
yeah.
Or maybe, you know what I think sometimes when a movie like goes about like a concept the wrong way? Like for example, you think about the movie Rampage, and Rampage is about the monsters destroying the cities, and then you watch a movie and it's not really about that.
I didn't see Rampage.
But like, what are you gonna do if you did the game accurately? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
mean,
guess you're right.
Just make it a kaiju movie. I mean, really. I mean, what's wrong with that?
That is what the Rampage
that's
is,
fair.
after all.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Oh, actually, how about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the perfect movie? I actually love that movie, but
for the wrong
it's so
reason.
dumb.
The third Final Fantasy movie is probably the best one.
Which one?
What's the third one?
The Kingsglaive movie, the one that goes with 15.
Oh, I forgot about
I didn't
that.
even know that
actually quite
existed.
good. Yeah, so
Yeah, it went with like FF14 or 15.
15.
Okay.
Yeah, it is actually the movie set up for 15. If you want to like have the full story of 15, you watch Kingsglaive and then you watch like the YouTube anime, and then you play the game.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, like actually that supplemental material is quite good. Like the anime and the CG movie.
I think
are
they had
pretty
an
good.
anime for FF7 as well, if I remember correctly, like Crisis Core.
Yeah, they do have that. It was included with Advent Children, I think. Like if you got the Blu-ray.
I'm trying to think, like, how many other video game movies are there? Because I know
there's Prince of Persia, which is mediocre.
I haven't seen it. Same goes for Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed is awful, from what I understand.
Yeah, too bad.
Oh shit! I completely forgot. I did see Prince of Persia. My God.
Yeah,
it's very forgettable.
We saw it. Just
I was gonna say there's a good sign.
Lotus. We saw it over at Mr. Ryu's house with bad subtitles.
I have not seen Prince of Persia.
Oh well, I saw it then.
All right. Actually, there's the Tomb Raider movies.
They're not bad. Actually, all three.
I don't remember the second one almost at all. Well, the first one felt like a Tomb Raider movie.
The newest one is supposed to be pretty good. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I heard it was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Oh. There's Super Mario Brothers. I actually talked about that today with my girlfriend. He's like, "What?" She was like, "What?"
The other perfect movie.
Well, we were at an Andy Warhol exhibit in New York, and she's like, what else was Dennis Hopper in? I was like, oh boy, let me tell you.
Dennis Hopper, so good.
Because like there's a picture that Andy Warhol did of Dennis Hopper. And I was just like, he was in Speed, but I have a better one.
Actually, technically, every single Pokemon animated movie ever, because it was a video game first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of cheating, but yeah.
Have you ever seen any of them though?
I saw the first one
in theaters.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
saw the first one in theaters.
I've never seen any of them. I don't know. I didn't want.
They're very sappy.
I didn't want to see the movies.
Yeah.
I wanted to play the games.
I would say just stick to the anime and don't even go to the don't go to the movies. Like if you like that kind of thing. It's kind of
cool seeing Mewtwo being all dark and badass and everything, but yeah,
like crying because your Pikachu is frozen or something.
I think it.
Nah.
I think Ash
was turned to stone.
Well, doesn't Ash like die in every movie or something? Like I think it becomes ridiculous at some point.
The first movie, I don't think that happened in the second.
Maybe
movie.
in anime then, because I remember someone saying like, yeah, Ash dies a couple
Ash straight
of
up
times.
died
Actually.
in like the first season of the anime.
Even in the first.
Really? How?
Yeah. Like I think they like stopped airing the episode. I don't know if it's back, but like like a chandelier fell on him or something, and his soul left his body, and he hung out with Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar.
Oh yeah.
But, like, eventually, he was like, I really need to get back though, and the ghosts were like disappointed but understanding, and it's like so he technically died, or at the very least had an out of body experience and came near death.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other movies, but nothing comes to my mind.
There's Double Dragon. How could you forget?
Oh,
God,
Robert Patrick.
Yes.
Pass.
I actually have a copy of that, and I like to show it.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't change that one because then I would be left with less
well, that's the
material.
thing. Like I don't like that movie, but like you do, and I totally get it. Like that's how I am.
It's a
with
piece
Mortal
of
Kombat
shit, but I like it.
Yeah, but that's how I am with Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie. I will watch it whenever I see it. But like I know perfectly
But
well
it's
that
crap, yeah.
if anyone wants to make fun of me, then yeah, I'm fair game.
We're missing all the Uwe Boll movies, by the way. There's
Yeah,
lots
but
of
nobody
Alone in the
cares
Dark,
about
which was hot
those,
garbage.
jeez.
There was House of the Dead, which
Dungeon
was hot garbage.
Siege.
I saw Blood Rain. What a disaster! Jesus Christ.
There are three of them, I think.
Yeah, there are three
There's
of those.
three of them.
Yeah, and there's also
Three Alone in the Darks, I think, too. There's a House of the Dead movie.
There's House of the Dead. I don't think there's 3 Alone in the Darks. I thought there was only 1.
There's at least 2.
Oh wait, Alone
There's
in
at
the
least
Dark.
2.
God, yes.
Well, there's 3 Blood Rains, but there's also Blubberella, which is like a parody of one of the Blood Rain movies, but you have to be like a hardcore Uwe Boll fan
Blubberella?
to get it.
What?
I'm not kidding.
What are you talking about?
Look it up. But like it's like a parody of one of the Blood Rain movies, maybe the first one. So like if you've seen Uwe Boll's Blood Rain, then there are jokes relating to that, and it's like
Goodness me. But yeah,
he made.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't he?
That's just such a weird decision to make. Like Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me, made jokes about Austin Powers 1, like callbacks, but like Austin Powers 1 was fucking popular. Like you would have gotten those jokes. Like no one's gonna get Blubberella. What the fuck?
Wait, there is an Alone in the Dark too. So yeah,
there is.
Yes.
I think,
wow, I didn't know
I think
that.
I saw the first
one.
I think.
Also, one of the movies Uwe Boll made, I think,
Postal.
was actually Postal.
He made Postal.
But like Under Siege, I forgot if it was Under Siege, but one of the movies he made was actually pretty decent. The one with Jason Statham as Farmer.
No, that's not Under Siege. That's Steven Seagal. Yeah, it's Dungeon Siege.
Dungeon Siege. The thing with that movie, though, is I don't think it had anything to do with the video game, which is why it was good. It was like a heavy ripoff of Lord of the Rings, but it was one of those things where when you rip it off enough, you get some of the good parts, because that was the point. So the movie ended up being actually pretty decent, and it had a surprisingly good cast. And fucking Blind Guardian plays the music on the end credits? What? Blind Guardian's awesome, but like, what are you doing in a fucking Uwe Boll movie? It was the weirdest decision ever.
Yeah, so In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, In the Name of the King of Dungeons. Yes, that's what it was.
It's Jason Statham movie, and that had a sequel.
You know what I thought was funny about
with
that,
Dolph
by the
Lundgren.
way, is... That's right, I forgot about that. One thing I thought was funny is John Rhys Davies, the guy who played Gimli, the dwarf in Lord of the Rings, plays the good wizard, like the Gandalf type character in The Name of the King. So he's in the Lord of the Rings and the Lord of the Rings ripoff.
Well, Blood Rain has Ben Kingsley in it, who's an Oscar winner.
Yeah, in The Name of the King is Burt Reynolds and Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta's the bad guy.
Really?
Yeah, all my life I've wanted to be the villain of a Noi Ball movie.
yeah. These Blood Rain movies, they're
like he's got a really good cast for these movies, and it's like, what?
Wow.
Oh, remember that time House of the Dead just straight up cut the video game footage during the action scenes? Like Doom, the Doom movie had a Doom sequence, but didn't cut the fucking Doom 3.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Doom was a thing.
So
it was okay. I mean, it's a bad Doom movie, but it's an alright movie.
I don't know what I would change though. Like,
make them hell monsters and not fucking
make it
demons.
hardcore. Make it hardcore Henry, but with demons. That's all you should be doing.
Also, the Pinky sequence was actually really cool.
Yeah, I need to see that. As much as it's not the best, I do want to see it.
It's really not the best, but it's fun. It's like if you've been playing Doom 3. Then I think you'll like the movie. Because it's like, because like the imp has like the mini eyes like in Doom 3. It's stuff like that. It's not Doom 1, it's Doom 3. So like the Pinky looks like the Doom 3 Pinky, which is actually very intimidating. It's pretty fun. It's Carl Urban and The Rock. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that answers the question pretty well. So I think we'll wrap things up unless we have anything for the good of the order, folks.
No, I'm okay.
Jeez, like I'm stretching to think of other video game movies, but I think I
we
know
named
there's
them.
others that
there's
you, like,
obviously more, but
there's probably animated stuff too. Well, there's animated like Samurai Spirits and stuff like that, but like
those don't count. Come on.
Yeah, those are probably more series anyway. Whatever. There's the Darkstalkers OVA.
Yeah, but there's OVAs, but. Yeah, those don't count. Come on.
Oh, well.
Okay, that's the show for this week.
Yeah.
We want to thank our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Let's promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. I can read this a lot better than the intro. You can also catch us on Tuesdays on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. I spoke too soon. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Battle.net, and Switch.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, currently working on recording one of those right now, and even getting involved in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account at patreon.com/lotusprince.
Yeah, and one of those people includes me. And I know I say that.
Whoa!
I know I say that every time, but it is really fun going on Lotus's streams because the chat is like 90% of the experience.
Oh, yeah. Like it's fun. I go in there from time to time, and people are like, "Hey, it's Norm," kind of like that. You know, it's vibes, and it's
I don't get it. Your name isn't Norm at all.
It's always fun.
Yes.
So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Lou Fakafon. That's LOUPFAKAFON, and that's hard to say. FAKAFON. It's Fakafon on YouTube. You can check out my webcomic Kadrula on kadrula.com, and I'm on Webtoons now. So if you look for Kadrula-chan, you will see my comic there too.
Well, and it's worth every moment, so definitely check it out and support them.
Wink.
Ding! This one's my seeing eye. This one's my winking eye.
Hey.
So we will catch everybody next week.
Until next time, everyone.
Wait a minute. Will it be next year, actually?
So I believe we may have, it will be next year.
Because 1 week after the 25th is like the 1st, right?
Yes, so we will talk to you on the 1st.
See you next year.
See you next year.
And after that, we will have some special MagFest episodes like we do every year. So we will maybe we can even coerce our famous friend Perry to be on the show here. I actually talked to him about it this weekend, and he was open to it, so we can get him on here. So I'm definitely looking forward to MagFest, and maybe even coercing some of our Corrective Consciousness members to play some more Capcom beat 'em ups for the channel. That is what I'm hoping. So let's see if that happens. But I think we could make it happen. What do you think, Lotus?
Not really.
Okay. You're not in the mood for something that happens in 2 weeks.
Not tonight, honey.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just like George Costanza, like, you're not in the mood? Well, you better get in the mood!
All right, everybody. We'll see you next year.
Until next year,
Yeah,
everyone.
until next year.
Bye.
Woo.